Hi everybody, I hope you're all doing really well. Back today to talk about some of my spring favourites. Some bookish, but mostly my non-bookish favourites. Things that have been bringing me joy in the months March, April and May. Starting as always with my book favourite, I have to say from the spring months, the book that has meant the most to me has been Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. I know you've heard so many people talk about this, and me especially, but this was just such a fantastic prequel to that original Hunger Games trilogy, looking at the games of Hamish Abernathy, getting a chance to delve into his backstory, what made him the person that we know in the original series, showcasing once again the brutality of the capital, especially in this 50th year, the second quarter quell, where double the amount of tributes are being reaped, and Hamish is having to see double the amount of contestants die right in front of him. And I think what's so great about this is it feels so seamless. It is upending a lot of perceptions that we had of his original game, but it all makes sense. It feels like a natural addition to the series, and I feel like that's what the best prequels and sequels do. They feel like natural additions rather than something that the author added in as a cash grab or because they couldn't think about what else to write. This feels like it's a story that has been a long time coming, and I'm very, very thankful to have it. Moving on into my non-bookish favourites. Firstly, we have a skincare favourite, and it is the Oskia Renaissance Cleansing Gel. This little mini is one that I have completely used up. This is quite a bougie little skincare item. In its full price, it does cost quite a bit. I used to use this back in my master's days, which is now, oh goodness me, like 5 or 6 years ago. And then when we got into COVID and I was on furlough, I decided, you know what, maybe I don't need to spend quite so much money on skincare. But I've recently really wanted to up my skincare game, but not wanting to spend a load of money before I know that a product is actually good. I did ask for a bunch of little minis for Christmas, and you might be able to tell I have completely used this up. This is an empty tube, but this is absolutely lovely. I typically tend to use this in the morning to cleanse my skin, get all the grime off, but it is lovely. It's a gel cleanser, but it has definitely a good amount of oil basis in there, and it just smooths your skin over. It feels so supple and it's just very luxurious. It has a smell of like the rose Turkish delight, which is very welcome on a morning. I definitely feel like I'm getting my money's worth out of this one. I don't currently have one of these going because I want to use up some skincare products that I already have. I am potentially moving house in a few months' time, and I want to make sure that I've like decluttered as much as possible and that I'm not bringing a massive backlog of skincare and body care. I just want to use up everything that I have before I move. But as soon as I am out of all of my other cleansers, you better believe I am spending the money on this because it is so worth it. In terms of a little fashion favourite, I actually have 2 of the same dress, but in different colours. And I know, what a shocker for me, a blue floral dress. But this is the very, very popular floral dress from Uniqlo that I have seen doing the rounds. And I do believe that after I wore this gorgeous white one to the Booktuber meetup, more on which in a bit, that the lovely Katie Lumsden ended up going to Uniqlo and picking up her own. I have never felt like more of an influencer than in that moment. But these are just really lovely midi dresses. I'm 5'8", so this definitely is more of a midi dress for me. It kind of lands around about mid-calf. If you're a little bit shorter, it might end up being full length. It has lovely, ever so slightly puffy sleeves. Like, they're not full on Anne of Green Gables, but they definitely nod to that. If you keep it tied up, it has a lovely round neckline, but if you undo this, then it gives you like a little V going on. It has quite a long elasticated waist and then goes into a lovely A-line skirt. This feels like the closest that I ever get to wearing something that is more cottagecore, and it's a really, really lovely dress because it kind of gives that nod to a Regency dress, but without having like the empire waistline. It kind of sucks me in at the waist, which is what I always like, and then flares out. And as somebody who wears dresses all the time, I find this really lovely and versatile. It's nice and cool, but then I can also layer it with a cardigan in the spring or the autumn. Oh, and it also has pockets. That's really important. But yeah, I've got a ton of wear out of these so far, and I think I'm going to get even more in the summer months. Usually I come to you with a bit of a food favourite, and I don't really have a proper food favourite aside from a really random one, which is that I have started adding walnuts to my porridge. Yep, you heard that right. So if I'm going to make porridge, what I tend to do is I get my oats, I get my almond milk. I will also mash up a banana, a whole banana, whack a bunch of cinnamon in there, mix that all up, cook that off, and then I will add a scoop of almond butter. And then recently I've started chopping up into teeny tiny pieces 2 or 3 walnut halves, sprinkled that on top, and I don't know what it does to it, but it makes it taste like a banana nut muffin. If you're like me, you have a bit of a sweet tooth, and just plain ordinary porridge doesn't really do it for you, I highly recommend this recipe. And if you're somebody like me and you like to do your 30 plants a week, that's an additional plant. You've got your oats, you've got your banana, you've got your cinnamon, you've got your walnuts, and also technically you've got your almonds too and your almond butter. So that is 5 plants right there. So look at that, you're getting your plant points alongside it being super tasty. I am not somebody who is very good at watching new film and TV, but I've been trying to get myself to do more and more, and recently with my new phone, which, hello, I am currently filming going on. I have been since January. Part of the deal with my new phone was that I would get 3 months free of Apple TV. And the show that I went to straight away and has proven to be a runaway success, both with myself and with my mum, is Ted Lasso. Yes, I know, I can't believe it has taken me this long to watch Ted Lasso, but I'm really, really glad that I did because I've been singing about it from the rooftops. So for those of you who don't know, Ted Lasso is a college level football coach, American football coach, who ends up being brought over to the UK to coach a failing Premier League football club. UK football as in soccer to the Americans. Despite the fact that he knows nothing about the sport, we learn during the pilot that the reason for this is that the owner of the club, Rebecca Walton, who ended up getting the club in her divorce settlement, is deliberately trying to tear the team down by hiring a coach that she thinks is doomed to fail. Ted is unknowingly part of her scheme to destroy her husband by killing the thing that he loved the most, which is the football club. However, what Rebecca is not expecting is that Ted Lasso is just this bright, bubbly ball of energy who is very intentionally positive and is trying to bring out the best in his players through appreciating them, through promoting open and honest communication, bringing out the best in them. And it's very much a series that is about culture clash between the UK and the US, optimism versus British pessimism. But it is so charming and delightful, and it also isn't afraid to get very real. Like, Ted is not this caricature. It's shown how his choice to be optimistic is an active choice that he is making to be a better version of himself. We see him along the way in the show struggling with his mental health, and the show does delve deep into why it is the way that he is, why he is so keen to encourage such a positive atmosphere around his players and around everybody that he meets. And I just think it's a brilliant show. It's one I even recommended at work because I think this could show a lot of positive messaging on how to promote a healthy working space where we are uplifting each other and remembering to show our appreciation and our thanks and our gratitude to the people that we work with, rather than just taking those people for granted. I think that's what I found really valuable in this, is that sometimes I do take people for granted who are doing lovely things for me. And it's a good show for just kind of stepping back and thinking about all the lovely things that you have in your life and paying that gratitude forward. And when you're feeling stressed, thinking to yourself, okay, what's a better way of dealing with this rather than just blowing up? Is there a way that I can communicate this slightly better? I said I was going to come back to it, and absolutely I cannot go through this spring favourites without talking about the Booktuber meetup back in May. As I say, this was organised by Katie over at Books and Things, and it was the bringing together of, I believe, around about 20 different booktubers in the UK. Normally when we do these booktuber meetups, it is a bookshop crawl going around various places. We've been to the main ones in London and in East London and up in York, but this time, instead of going around book shopping, we ended up going to a restaurant, having some lovely food, and then we went over to the London Night Cafe, which is based in Aldgate. And basically on a weekend you can rent out the space to do whatever you like there. They offer free tea and coffee, and their entire space, which includes like this lovely cozy kind of like bed setup, lots of cushions and kind of like disco mood lighting. But it was a really, really lovely space to get together and read, do little live reading sprints, and also just a really nice place to chat and catch up with each other on our lives. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I had such a blast doing this. If you do find yourself in London looking for a quiet space to read or to think, then I definitely recommend the London Night Cafe. I think you'd have a great time. My last recommendation is a podcast. I'm a sucker for a podcast that is about nostalgic movies and TV, and so I had to recommend this new one that I came across, which is Movies That Raised Us, in which once a week the hosts Mo and Christina go movie by movie, taking us through the plots of the films that we grew up with, particularly if you were born in the 90s or early 2000s. There's cultural touchstones that shaped a generation, really influenced the way that we think, the way that we speak, the way that we dress, shaped our notions of love and friendship. I really love how they talk about these films. I find a lot of the time that I agree with their ratings. I'm also learning about a lot of films that I never actually grew up with, but I'm really, really keen to check out. And I blitzed through this podcast really very quickly, despite the fact that they've been going, I think, since before the COVID lockdowns, and they've never missed a week. So there is a lot of material to get through, and I managed to do it. So I think that just goes to show how much I enjoyed it. So there we go. Those are all of my recommendations for things that I've been loving in the spring months. Do let me know if any of your favourites for March, April, May, whether bookish or non-bookish, that you've really been enjoying. I would love to hear from you. I hope you're having a fantastic, fantastic day. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.